after this, but we do have some thoughts on the college football 25 rankings. So Michigan was rated fairly highly from what we've heard in the 90s. So that's very exciting. But Ferris, I think you've got some general thoughts on the landscape there for the upcoming return of the video game.
Yeah. So first of all, I know, there's probably a little bit of a crossover audience here between the video game and I think there's going to be a lot of newbies. There's going to be a lot of people here that are going to get beaten by a 15-year-old and get humbled that way in this game. Michigan. So, if you're over 90, you're doing pretty well in this game. And, Michigan's a 92 on offense, 92 on defense and offense, actually, both, which seemed a little odd to me. I would have thought defense would be one of the best, and then a 93 overall. Now, this was based on screen captures. So maybe this was kind of early days and things are going to get, revised or something to that effect. EA Sports is releasing some little clips at a time. So they did release some clips that had Michigan in it. If you're interested, Michigan State is at an 85-78 overall rating of an 85. So we're at a 93. Michigan State's an 85. Nothing from OSU that we've seen yet. Clemson is ahead of Michigan at a 95 and a defense that's a 98. That made no sense to me, on the surface. So we'll see. We'll see how these numbers adjust. Swanky Wolverine, for those of you know Swanky. Swanky did an alteration. He kind of publishes what I would call April Fool's content year round, having to do with Michigan, and he made Michigan a 99-99 and put them up against OSU in the low 80s or something like that. They did show Iowa. Iowa was at a 71 for offense and a 94, even higher than Michigan for defense. Overall score actually matches MSU. I'm sorry. Let's see if other schools of note. Yeah, they had Miami 80 and a 70-80 on offense, 78 on defense. Overall score of an 84. So
the Clemson one was what was surprising to me. I have a lot of respect for Clemson and obviously Jordan Bowman and Tiger Paw, who do our Clemson show. But 95 in 2024 was a little bit shocking. If this was 10 years ago, I'd be like, hell yeah, let's, that makes sense. But now the fact that they're above Michigan, that was interesting.
Yeah.
And how high they
so
were.
Of all the schools I've listed, Clemson at 95, Michigan at 93. I'm curious from the two of you if you think, in terms of individual players, and maybe put it in the chat, and it could be OSU players too, but Michigan or OSU players, who's going to break 90 in terms of a score, individual player kind of score. So on the individual roster, I think we're saying Will Johnson for sure. Any kind of predictions on that? I mean, he's probably going to break a 95, I think.
I'd say 97. I'd say he should be a 97.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, he's elite. He's arguably the best corner in college football. I want to before I give you all right, I'll give you individual players, but I have a take on those overall rankings. But,
okay, go ahead.
90 freaking 2 on defense. What the hell are they doing, bro? The defensive ranking, in my opinion, should be at a 96. This defense is elite. It's definitely going to be a top 10 defense. It's arguably top 5, and it might be number 1 this season. Our defense has no holes. You may say, okay, well, maybe CB2 is a question mark, but I feel confident in the rotation of guys who are going to be battling for CB2. Outside of that, name the hole. The defensive line is going to be better. The linebacking core, I honestly believe, could be better than last year's with Ernest Hausman and Jay-Sean Barnum. And then Will Johnson's only better than last year. He's a lockdown corner. And then our safety tandem that they got, and they just brought in those other safeties, from Manningham to Walker. Our defense should be above a 95, should be a 96 in my opinion. The offense, and I'll give the counter. Should our offense be a 93? Probably not. It should probably be like a 90 or 91. But that defensive ranking is bullshit. We'll see though. It said the overall ratings weren't official, so they're subject to change. We'll see how that goes. But to answer your question, Ferris, guys who I think would be over 90, and I don't want to steal too much of John's thunder here, but I think you could say I bet you Donovan Edwards is over 90 because he's the cover athlete. Colson Loveland, Will Johnson, which we talked about, Jay Sean Barnum should be over 90 in my opinion, and then I think that's.
Well, you've got Grant and Graham.
Oh, hell yeah. Graham, you're right. Facts. Those are 90 players for sure. I mean, the thing is, too, though, we don't necessarily know how they're going to do the rating system. Like Madden's very Madden used to have a way better rating system. I feel like their current rating system, I think, is lacking. I think it's a little like you got this disproportion of ratings. Is you have a lot of 70s and like low 80 guys, and you got like these very extremely rare 90 guys. But I don't know. I would say those guys I would argue would be in the 90s. What do you think, John?
Yeah, so I'm thinking, I'm hearing people saying 99 for, 5 or 6 players. And you have to understand how stingy they are with 99s. Right. I don't even know if Will Johnson's getting a 99. I could see Will Johnson getting like a 97. Yeah. And then I could see Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant getting low 90s, maybe. But expect a lot of 80s. And in that realm, you're going to see a lot of 80s when you think you probably should be 90, but you're going to see a lot of people in the 80s. I would expect, and anybody who hasn't gotten a lot of playing time could be even lower than that. So you just have to remember, for those of you who aren't as familiar with the game, how they do the rankings over there at EA. They're stingy with like the really high ones.
Yeah. So in Madden, I believe there are 6 players. There were 6 players in last year's game that were 99s. How many will there be in this game? Overall, and you're talking about 4 times the number of teams, right? 130 versus 30, right? So yeah. So it'll be interesting. All right. So Loveland 93, Mason Graham 94, Kenneth Grant 95, Will Johnson 97. Maybe a couple ticks lower for Graham and Grant. Loveland. Do you think Loveland's going to be judged purely? How does a tight end get judged? Blocking and catching and everything.
Well, I mean, yeah,
there's projection with all the rankings. I mean, there's projection. Like they have to project. I think Colson Loveland will likely be a top 3 rated tight end in the game. Yeah.
Gameplay itself, from what I understand, is going to be very interesting and more detailed than Madden in some ways. They went through a lot of effort to try to make it unique for every one of any college football team that you want. So I'm really looking forward to seeing my Eastern Michigan as well. So I went to U of M, but I love Eastern as well. So we'll see what ends up happening with that. It's supposed to play faster, so I'm looking forward to that as well than Madden. So some of that might be the fact that if you're in the pros, all the players are a lot closer together, more bunched up together. And in college, there's more of a spread. So you can have, maybe crazy plays working for you more often against lesser teams. So we'll see what happens with respect to that. I do think that, I'm really, really hoping that they went through a lot of detail on Michigan's actual plays. Making it very unique, and maybe there's an opportunity for us to actually show some of those plays within the game and have it be somewhat realistic. So we'll see with respect to that. I see it as a potential educational tool, and if you're on the fence, I would say I would say if you don't get the game, there's going to be a 50 15-year-old standing next to you at the big house that's going to know the schemes and players better than you, perhaps. So I'm just giving you that warning right now. So you might have to do a little bit of homework if you want to catch up to that 15-year-old. So PSU has not been published. So there's a handful. I mean, it's not really even published. It's based on screenshots from a preview. So
yeah, Iowa was like 71 on offense, and I thought that was high. I thought they should be like 50s.
I'll take another look at. So Iowa 71 on offense, 94 on defense. MSU 85 on offense, which I think is pretty high. 78 on defense, and they both have the same exact score, but they're kind of flip-flopped offense defense of an 85.
Right.
But both Iowa and MSU.
Yeah, it's interesting to kind of see, how many people that know college football participated in some of these rankings, because in some cases it makes sense, and in other cases it feels wildly off, like this should have been their ranking 10 years ago or whatever else. So it's kind of a mixed bag of both. I guess, to be fair, Madden can be like that too, where some of the rankings and scores, it's like, what the hell.
Yeah, one other thing that I left off was that probably should be considered is players getting tired and players getting injured within the game. So there might be like little red areas on the arm, or different plays, thighs, whatever, and you've got to keep track of that. And you are rewarded if you have a deep team, I think, in this game. So I think Michigan could do really well. I mean, players who use Michigan could do really well, if in fact Michigan, which I think they will be rotating players in and out. Let's say in the secondary, for example, things like that.
Defensive line. That's what we do. We rotate defensive line. Like, we rotate 8. We were 8 deep. So, I know the game's gonna be great. And hopefully we can bring some of this game to the channel. That's something we're talking about right now, and we'll see what the capabilities are and what we're able to do. But yeah, I mean, I'm ecstatic. I already told you I pre-ordered the game. Have you pre-ordered it yet, Ferris? Or
I haven't. I'm trying to figure. My anniversary is July 16th, so I'm not going to be playing the game that day. so I'm probably just going to wait. I'm just going to wait till the 19th. That's the pre-order, or whatever, the deluxe version, which actually has Donovan Edwards in the center, though. So I don't know if what the value is of that, but because it's electronic, it's a digital copy anyway. But so probably the 19th I will. I did reach out to my nephew, who is my gaming expert, and he said he would help us. He would probably run. He's looking to run a Michigan versus Texas simulation as soon as he gets the game. So we'll see what happens with that. So